It became an unhealthy obsession because it just heightened my anxiety. Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be talking about pregnancy and mental health. So let's go ahead and get started. I wanted to talk today about my own experience with mental health during pregnancy. I am currently 20 weeks pregnant. This is my second pregnancy and I suffer from anxiety. Like many people, when you find out you're pregnant, you are super excited and then at the same time you're worried and anxious, and it's completely normal. But for me, I noticed in my first pregnancy that there were some signs that maybe there was more going on. So I've personally suffered from anxiety for as long as I can remember. I have found over the years ways to cope with it and to deal with it. And I am in no way a doctor. I'm not here to diagnose you or, prescribe anything. I'm just here to share what works for me, what I've been doing during pregnancy, my first and currently in my second, to just help me get through. And if this is something that you're suffering from, and if this is, if you feel alone in this, just know that you're not. I feel like people don't really talk about this when they're pregnant. I feel like postpartum depression is so common, and that is something that is talked about frequently, but I feel like depression and anxiety during pregnancy is just not really talked about. So I just wanted to share, again, my experience and how I've been coping. So when I first found out I was pregnant, there was a lot of unknown. I had no idea what to expect. I had never been a mom before. I've never been pregnant before. I didn't know what to expect. Like any normal person, they would be super, anxious. I feel like that's a completely normal thing to feel. But I noticed that I had some behavior that came with it and some thoughts that didn't seem very healthy. I started becoming very obsessive. I felt like I needed to learn everything and know everything, and I had this time crunch of, every single day and every second I needed to be doing baby research. I needed to, buy the next big product just because I thought my baby needed it. And don't get me wrong, I mean, doing research is great. It became an unhealthy obsession because it just heightened my anxiety, and it got to the point where I got so overwhelmed and so burnt out that it was taking the joy out of it, and I had to step back. I had to slow down, and I did. Another big thing that I started noticing that I felt was a little abnormal was I thought every time my husband would leave the house that he was gonna die, that something horrible was gonna happen to him. I can think of a million scenarios just playing in my head when he would leave the house, that he would, he would go around the corner and he'd get in a car accident, and I'd be left all alone and not have anyone to help me raise this child. And I just found myself just having horrible thoughts and all of these hypotheticals of things that I honestly had no control over. And I think that's where my anxiety stemmed from, was stressing about things that were out of my control, was having a very unhealthy obsession with a lot of things. And I've noticed in my past, that's kind of how I handled my anxiety, is trying to control the uncontrollable. I feel like a lot of people can relate to that. And pregnancy is one of those things that there's a lot of uncontrollable things. So with my second pregnancy, I really wanted to make sure I was paying attention to any kind of behavior or feelings or thoughts that I was having that were similar to my first pregnancy. Thankfully, I didn't have any postpartum depression. I will, at the end of this video, share some ways that I've coped first pregnancy and the second pregnancy. So I will get to that. And it truly saved me. I'm pretty sure I would have gotten postpartum depression if I hadn't have done these things to help me through. So this second pregnancy has been a million times worse. I feel like now that I have a toddler and I have a baby here now, my anxiety is just already heightened on a daily basis because I'm trying to keep a tiny human alive. And along with that, I'm having the same exact horrible thoughts that when my husband leaves to go to work, that he's gonna end up dying or something horrible is gonna happen and I'm gonna be stuck all alone again having to raise a baby. And if that wasn't bad enough, now I'm having those thoughts about my daughter, that something absolutely horrible is gonna happen to her. I have nightmares about it. And when I'm just awake, I'm thinking like, man, she could slip and fall and she could bust her head open, and then I have to go to the hospital. And it's just like this endless scenarios and hypotheticals that my mind plays on me, thoughts that are uncontrollable and I don't know how to stop them. Another big thing is I find myself not wanting to leave the house because I have to drive to go somewhere. My doctor's is in the city, over an hour away, and I absolutely dread driving there. I get extremely anxious. My chest gets tight, borderline panic attacks when I have to drive anywhere. I live in a small town now, and I enjoy just being able to like go around the corner to go to the store. I'm comfortable with that. But again, just fear and anxiety just takes over me, especially when my daughter's in the back seat. You know, like I'm in control of this vehicle, and if something happens, like it's on me. And you know, it's just unhealthy thoughts, but at the same time, like they are real, they are thoughts. And I've just found that driving anywhere, especially if there's bad weather. The other day I went to the doctor's and I was on my way and it was storming out, and I had to pull over because I just couldn't breathe. Like my chest was tight. I was so anxious. I was thinking of all the horrible things that could possibly go wrong. So that's just a little snippet of kind of the big anxious things that are going on during my pregnancy that it's hard to talk about and actually admit out loud that I am thinking all of these things, but that's how I'm feeling. And I want to share that with people because you may be feeling and experiencing the same thing. And if this could just help someone to not feel alone, I feel like it's worth sharing. So now I want to talk about how I've coped and how I've gotten through all of this stuff. I'm not saying I'm cured. I don't think that's ever going to be the case, but I have found ways to help me through it, and I want to share those with you. So my number one biggest coping mechanism is prayer. I am a Christian. I do believe in God, and I believe that He will get me through anything. So whenever I'm having those panic attacks or anxious feelings, I throw up my hands and I literally just say, Lord, please calm my anxious heart. I feel like I say that like a million times a day, but it just brings me peace and calm. And it allows me to just take my situation and put it in His hands and just relinquish that control. Like I said, my biggest thing is I feel like I have to control everything. And when I don't have that, it just makes me have anxiety attacks. And I know a lot of people, I get this a lot. They're like, you're a Christian, you shouldn't be anxious. The Bible says don't be anxious, but that's not true. Anxiety is a mental disorder. It's wired in your brain. By giving my life to Christ, I fix my sight on Christ. We're allowing peace from prayer to intercede. So I don't want to go all deep into the spiritual stuff with you guys. I just wanted to kind of share that being my main coping mechanism and how much of a difference it makes in any situation, but mostly when I'm anxious, I go to prayer. So another thing I do is I make lists of things I can control. Like I was saying, my anxiety stems from being anxious about things that I normally can't control. So if I am in a moment where I'm feeling super anxious, I like to either mentally make a list of, is this something I can control, or is this something that I have no control over? And if it's something I don't have control over, I try and mentally or physically write down a list of things I can control, whether it pertains to that situation or just in general things that I can control. And it really, really helps make a difference. And another thing is practicing my daily habits. I've started implementing healthy habits into my life during this pregnancy, and my next video will be talking about all of my daily habits, everything that I'm doing, breaking it down, so make sure you are subscribed so you don't miss that. I've been finding that doing my daily habits are things that, again, I can control, and just doing those just really keep me at peace and keep me grounded and really help with my anxiety. Another big thing is I talk to my husband about everything. Any emotion, any feeling, anything at all. It doesn't matter if it's little, big, small, crazy, whatever. I talk to him. I feel like having someone to talk to, whether it's a close friend, family, a therapist, anyone, really, really helps just talking about your anxiety. I already feel better talking about it now, but just sharing what you're going through and just hearing it out loud and working through it is super important. And I find doing that with my husband, especially when it comes to pregnancy and all those horrible fears that I have about him leaving the house, he just is incredible and just helps reassure me, that everything's gonna be okay. And yeah, I just find that that's super helpful. I do believe that there is a lot of power in 3 deep breaths. I know that sounds kind of cheesy. I feel like that's something that we've been practicing since elementary school. But if I'm in a situation and I feel like I'm about to act out or say something or do something because I'm, triggered by my anxiety, I just like to take 3 deep breaths. It just allows me to just reset, refocus, and I find that it helps me a ton when I'm having anxious thoughts. Overall, I feel like doing these things and just asking for help, even if you think that these feelings are completely normal, this behavior is completely normal, ask for help or just be open to talking to someone about it. I feel like anxiety is very misunderstood. A lot of people think it's because you stress too much, that's why you're so anxious, which I feel like isn't the case. I feel like, anxiety can come from anywhere. Everyone's different, and a lot of people have depression along with anxiety, and I personally haven't experienced that, so I can't talk on that side of things, but I do know that, stress is a byproduct of anxiety, and I've noticed that if I just practice my coping mechanisms, it significantly helps with my anxiety and my stress. I feel like those are tied together. I feel like anxiety can creep up when you least expect it, and it can cause you to shut down. And I think taking self-care steps is just super important to just kind of help you get through it. I truly believe that pregnancy is the most beautiful and most challenging thing you're ever gonna do in life, and it's okay if you are feeling anxious about it, and if you feel like you're having a little more than anxiety or depression or anything like that, don't be afraid to talk to somebody about it. Don't be afraid to acknowledge those things, because at the end of the day, we're all in this together. That sharing my story and sharing what I've been going through and what I have gone through is encouraging. And if you are pregnant or if you are going through the same exact thing, comment that down below. Let me know how I could be supporting you, how I could be praying for you. Make sure you are subscribed. My next video is going to be about more in depth of my daily habits and how those help me with my anxiety and just help overall with my mental health. So if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!